Okay. I'm following my prompts. Good morning. Happy Saturday. What a beautiful day to be alive. Man, I am just so jazzed this morning and just so grateful for so many things. Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you. And yesterday, we finally had a break in the rain. Don't get a lot of rain around here, but when it comes, it's welcome. And spring is coming. So yesterday it was just cloudy and cold. And I went into town because there's this really good-sized park there. And so I parked and started walking in the park. And I don't know, I just inspired to start walking in the neighborhoods. And I discovered there's an old town. So I meandered around and looked at all the shops, and I circled back. And as I circled back, I found this road. It was called Seven Bridges Road. And I just thought, well, this might be interesting. So I started following it. Well, as it turns out, I ended up walking 14 miles all together now, and it felt good. You know, I was out there for I average 3.5 miles per hour. That's how I pretty much calculate my distances by time, and so it was about 4 hours plus. So yeah, that's how I kind of figured it out, and it felt really, really good. And this morning, I had an opportunity to talk to my oldest son. Now I haven't had a chance to talk to him since I saw him last, which was in late September, just about the beginning of October, and yeah, we were on the phone for like well over an hour. It was really awesome, and all is well. We're really everything's good. It's really good. And so I put a shout out to my youngest son, this morning, and just hopes that maybe he might respond. I sent him a text, and we'll see. But it feels good. Feels real good. And this morning, I also, something that, you know how Facebook gives you memories. Well, this morning, I took my bath, did my full body rub, you know, got cleaned up, and I don't know, I was inspired to wear my my Gleason t-shirt today. And as soon as I put it on and I came back to Facebook, a memory appears. And it was a video I made a year ago. And it was one of the very, I only made two, where I even brought up the discussion of flat Earth. And it was a lot of photography I did in Hood Canal where I lived. And it was just a perspective. And you know, I'm totally down with flat Earth. Actually, I call it plane because, you know, the whole flat thing, it's not flat. But it is a plane, not a planet, from my perspective. Now, the reason I accept that is my perspective point of view, my observation, my own sense of beingness. You know, so much of the science behind what we've been taught is just fabricated on so many levels that it's hard to wrap my head around it. I just trust my experience. And I also found that with the whole approach in the universe out there of Facebook and YouTube and stuff, it just becomes extremely defensive, argumentative, debating, and all that stuff. And I'm just not interested in participating at that level, so I don't. And it's all good. I'm being joined by my friend. as you can tell. And yeah, Baba G gets fascinated by the ladybugs, and there is a ladybug nest within the trailer, so they appear, and so she gets real riled up when they're out. So yeah, things are exciting. You know, my son, he's doing real well, and he moved to Texas, and he and his partner are just a couple days away from buying a trailer, and he's trading in his super cool Jeep that he's had for a while for a Silverado. And I said, man, you're right on my team now. It's so great. And yeah, he's doing good. He's doing real good. And so I'm real happy for him. I am. I was just so jazzed to hear from him. And so, yeah, I've been thinking about some things lately. You know, something that has appeared to me recently. I'm truly not who I was by any stretch, and even long before UT and other changes that I've evolved with. I've had a lot of changes of attitude. I've had a lot of change of mind over time, and it constantly changes. Who I am right now is not necessarily who I'll be tomorrow, or anywhere in projected ideas. I just roll with what is so in the moment. But I was thinking yesterday while I was walking that I might tell you a story. Since it is Saturday morning cartoons. This story goes back to a time when I was really a pretty confused teenager. And I was 15. Our house burned down a couple years before. And I was displaced on so many levels. And so one day I was hitchhiking. And I got picked up. Just so happened it was somebody I knew, a classmate. And I went, wow, get a new car? And he said, no, we stole it. And I thought, wait a minute, you stole a car? And before I knew it, I was stealing cars too. I actually stole. I kind of guesstimated this, but I probably stole about 150 cars before I ever turned 16. And I didn't do anything with them. I joyrided. Just was tripping. So this story was in, I don't know, it was in the winter sometime. And we got to a point, they were being a little too, my friend, they get a little goofy in the cars and do things that were damaging to the cars, and I didn't like any of that. I was just kind of amused by the joyriding. So we used to steal separate cars. And we'd joyride around in tandem. It was crazy, it was, So on this one particular occasion, we had two separate cars, and we went joyriding south of Seattle to where I grew up. It's out near the airport, and we were all tripping on acid. So I had this 58 Impala, and we're cruising around. Somehow we got separated by traffic lights and all that. And so I spent the rest of the night kind of driving around figuring, where in the world did they go? and I couldn't quite put a finger on it. So as the night went on, I saw some of my old friends, because it was the neighborhood I grew up in, and we were at a dance. And I figured it was time to head back north up to Seattle. So I'm driving around in this 58 Chevy powder blue Impala. And I was coming up on what's known as the First Avenue Bridge. As soon as I got onto the bridge, it just started spewing steam. And I mean lots and lots of steam. It was like I couldn't see. It was coming into the cab. I mean, it was everywhere. And I rolled off the bridge, got down off the exit, and the car was kind of dead. And there it was. It's about midnight. Totally tripping on acid in this stolen car, dead in the at the stoplight. And so this pickup truck pulled up behind me, and I got out and I said, "Hey, mind to just like push me across and out of the intersection?" "Oh yeah, sure, gladly." So he starts pushing me and pushing me and pushing me to where we were going down a 30-mile-per-hour road at 40 miles an hour, and he wouldn't back off. They were having a joyride themselves, apparently, you know, and I was getting a little bit panicked about this, because there was no way for me to stop the inertia of what was going on. And then finally they had their jollies and they backed off, and I rolled off into the back lot of a bowling alley. Now, it was really, really foggy out, really foggy. And at this point I'm like, just, I'm tripping now. And so I just sat there for a minute and figured, well, I better figure out something. So I walked across the street, and there was a like a Kmart in a big parking lot, and there were several cars parked there. So I just went and looked, and lo and behold, there was this Buick Skylark, actually really clean, totally unlocked. And now, how we used to really find these cars, just to let you know, in the General Motors, all the vehicles from like 1953 through somewhere into the mid-60s or so, they had an ignition called a sleeper eye. And it was so it had like lips, and so you could find your where to put your key in, kind of thing. Now, if you didn't turn the ignition completely off to a lock position, if it was left in a like straight up and down, you could actually start the vehicle without a key. Kind of a goofy design, really. So here was this Buick Skylark. Beautiful, clean, really nice. And like I said, it was real foggy. And so I started it right up, turned on the heat, turned on the defrosters and the wipers, and dialing up the radio. I was just making myself at home. And no sooner I finally put it in reverse and back it out of this spot, this car comes rolling right up in front of me, stops, and these people, they were older, elderly, really, and they started running towards me, yelling, "That's my car!" And I'm like, oh no. So I just floored it. I was still in reverse. I just floored it, and then I popped it into drive, and I just started like hit it like a bat out of hell. And I'm going through this parking lot. It has all those concrete things, you know, for parking and all that. Man, I'm just flying over these things, man. I'm galloping through this parking lot. And, man, I was crazed at this point. I started, I zoomed for a good mile or two, because actually I knew there was a police station almost about 2 blocks away from where I stole this car. And then I realized speeding wasn't a good idea, so I slowed down. I drove back up into Seattle, and I parked. And that's all I ever did, is I just drive them and park them. I really had no intent to destroy people's property. I was just a fucked up teenager. And so I went to my friend's house. He was a neighbor. He lived down the block. And I went and he lived in the basement of the house. So I went there and came in, and him and the other homeboy, they were sitting there watching those crazy, like, horror movies at midnight. And I said, dude, what happened to you guys? We got bored. We decided we'd come back and do this. And so he said, how'd your evening go? And my answer was, typical. And it was. I actually wrote a short story about this. It's in my archives. Someday I'll release my memoirs. But the reason I'm telling you this story is just to illustrate how we can go through many different phases of living itself, how many changes, how many different things can appear that are not us. What we do is not who we are. And the more we look at what we do or what we have as being who we are, the less we really understand who we're being at all. And beingness is being really okay. It's about being at peace, finding your center, being your own, realizing you have the source of all good things, that it all lives within us. We can find this by looking in, not looking out. And our tendency is to always look out to find whatever it is we're looking for. And when we keep looking out, we're really looking in the wrong direction, that's all. And it's all a process. It's not a right or wrong, just what's so. And we all have a tendency to do it. That's our human experience. We're always hoping, dreaming, imagining, forecasting, looking for some result. But if we weren't going through these processes, we'd never grow. In the truest understanding of the teachings of the Buddha. And the Buddha, by the way, is not an idol. It's not a false idol. Buddha is not considered a god. It's not. Buddha is just a concept of beingness, and understanding that your suffering, your struggles, your experience is all a part of the awakening. Because unless you understand, you have to see that everything exists, otherwise it doesn't exist at all. So if we look only in one direction, we're missing something. And we can't look away from what's so in our experience. But we can transmute it and transform it. It's just based on our perception of it. And I know what struggle looks like. I know that one real good. And I know what being confused looks like all too well. I know what blame is. I know what shame is. I know these things. I know them too well. I have applied them. And the thing is that we apply these things simply because this is our indoctrination. If we're raised up in guilt and shame and condensation and sarcasm, you know, all these things just become inherent after a while. We practice them because that's just what everybody does. Now, I reserve myself a lot more anymore, to the best of my ability, because I don't find the same value in it that I used to. And I recognize that the big shift is just about being more heart-centered than ego-centered. I don't feel like I really need to put somebody down in order to build myself up, which is what the tendency was towards. Now, being a satirist, I can get a little smarmy. But I don't do it to hurt people. I don't. If anything, I pursue different lines of logic to see if I can make people think. And I can't make anybody do anything. And I don't think I ever will. But I have my own process. I have my own opus. I muse myself. As a matter of fact, I wrote a piece just, I don't know, about an hour ago. I posted it. But I'll read it just because I can. But it expresses these ideas pretty clearly. And I called it Opus Awakens. Ha! Opus Awakens. Music within. Musing ourselves, and the process begins. Within our soul, a song exists. Ignoring this, a gnawing persists. As we see our muse arise, magic happens before our eyes. Never doubt, it lives in you. Just allow your heart pursues. Feel enlivened. Be robust. Express yourself with loving trust. Be the muse. Open the door. Opus awakens as you explore. And it is in all of us. The opus is in all of us. It's the music. It's what it is. The muse. It's in all of us. Then we keep looking in the wrong direction for our muse. Got to look within. That's how we amuse ourselves. Life can become really amusing when you just allow it. That's all. Now, I recognize I have been blessed with certain skills, I guess, gifts. I don't know. I just tap into it. I just play with it. I have fun with it. And I allow it. I just trust and allow it. You know, there's nothing else attached to it. You know, I post because I can. I publish because I do. That's why I do it. Because I can. No other reason. I don't spread. I put them on my pages and in the High Vibe Tribe page because I created that page. So I just post them there. People can read them or not. They can do whatever they want with them. It doesn't matter to me. It's just my muse. I'm amusing myself. And it's good. Life's good. You know, it really is good. And I just don't trip on stuff like I used to. And I have. I've tripped on a lot of stuff. I've tripped on myself. Oh, you shared one of my poems on your page and 2 people liked it and shared it. See, isn't that sweet? I like that. And that's why I do it. I do it if people want to share them. Gladly. I am a publisher, although the Orin Oracle book at this point is in the publisher, and I'm excited about that. I finally got everything in final. Well, it's not final, but in what I needed to do for this point of the process to get it into the review process. And they told me within a few weeks they will be back with me and we'll take it from there. And anybody who still wants to contribute by sending me comments, if they like my poetry and want to make a comment, I accept them, I appreciate them. And that just needs to be done in an email, because I have to validate every one of them with the publisher. So that's the best form. Just send it to wedoshivambu@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. And I still am accepting donations. So if anybody wants to contribute to the book in that form, I lovingly welcome that, because I still have another balloon payment coming. And so I just trust. I do. I trust and allow. But the PayPal account works. People have made all donations come through PayPal. PayPal.me/WeDo. And $25 or more. I accept all, but $25 guarantees and secures you a copy that I'll sign and number in the order that you make the donation. So I'm excited about that, because I've been writing a really, really, really long time. As a matter of fact, I'm planning my next trip will be going back out to Washington State to retrieve my archives and my computer. I have a real powerhouse computer that I have stored with my archives. It's not a whole lot of stuff, but I want to retrieve it and get it back. So I'm planning this trip, and the trip is going to, I think by looking at all indicators, I'm going to kind of head north, go through Nebraska, up and through Montana, and into Washington, and then circle back down through Oregon. There's just some people I want to see along the way, and then back through Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and kind of like that. It'd be about probably could be 4,000 or 5,000. It's I think I figured out it's around 2,200 miles just to get to Seattle from here. So we'll see. It's just a plan. And then I'm going to come back and build my tiny house. Yeah. And I'm excited about that. And I already have the building. It's just dilapidated. I have to go and dismantle it, load it up on a trailer, and then come back and recreate it. And there's some damage to it, but structurally it's, it'll be rebuildable. And these are skills I have. And my body's healing. My body's healing a lot. My hands have been getting a lot better. I still have some soreness in my thumb joints, but it's minimal comparatively to what I had gone through. And so I'm not going to approach building like I used to. I had this kind of gnarly Superman approach where I could just keep pumping up meds and drinking or whatever, and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And it nearly killed me. So I have a different outlook now. But I am resurrected. I'm I'm experiencing some real or just dramatic. Um, it's starting to appear. It is. I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, the gray in my hair is almost gone. It's just disappearing entirely. In my family, my mother, God bless her, she died at 93 a few years ago. And my three oldest brothers, they're a characteristic that seems to be in the genetics, I don't know. But it's these lines that form around the mouth, vertical lines. And I've been noticing that mine are just, they're disappearing. It's so wild. Oh, what this is my tattoo here. Now here, this is a good one. I have two tattoos. This is one, and this is the other. Now I had the first one done in 92. About, yeah, 92 I think it was. And I had this design in mind. I actually designed this one. I didn't render it. I just had the design in mind. And what it is, it's a lizard, but it actually represents a chameleon. And it's climbing up, and it's just within reach of the yin-yang. Now, the purpose of this idea is that with the chameleon, it represents the ever-changing world in which I live, which we all live. It's always changing. And the yin-yang obviously represents balance. So in concept, it is seeking balance in the ever-changing world. And I felt that I could live with that permanently. It's an idea that I never felt would ever go away from my sensibility or consciousness. So I had a tattoo made. Now back then, I found this young artist who had gone to art school and had was still kind of new in the tattoo world. A young lady. This was in South Tacoma, Washington. She only charged me $75. 4 colors. Wow. And I went back to her the following year, and I had these 2 Chinese symbols put on my other arm. And again, just something I felt I could live with. And in translation, they represent different mind, special heart, spirit that excels. That's me. Different mind, special heart, and a spirit that excels. And so, yeah, I've had these things on for decades now, and they resonate. I feel they still represent. And if I ever get another tattoo, I want it to. I'm waiting for the day I can have a hologram. Yeah, I thought, wouldn't that be interesting? Holographic tattooing. What a concept, eh? So, yeah. My son, well, both my sons, my oldest one has just 2 tattoos, and he had these done a long time ago, and they're actually kind of large, and they both, they're on his forearm. And it just says blessed, and what's the other one? Prosperous, maybe. Something like that, yeah. But my other son, he's way into tattoos, man. He's got them on his leg, and all up and down his arm, on his chest, and he's way into it. So it's all choice, and I appreciate it. I just didn't see the point in having tattoos all over my body. For me, I can respect and appreciate other people that do this. It's just a form of art and self-expression. And traditionally, they tell stories. You know, if you go back in to indigenous culture, where tattooing really found a lot of its root, they were representative of culture, tribe, um, philosophy, concepts. I don't know. So there's a root there. I've seen some interesting videos on this years ago, where this guy traveled around the world to meet some of these sources, you know, some of the more indigenous tattooing, not commercialized. They're much more tribal, the way they do it. So yeah, it's all good. It's all really good. It's all about self-expression, and I just do the best I know how to express myself and stay true in that. I've been enjoying writing. Writing has been just kind of pouring through me lately, and I just trust it, and I just allow it. And I like what's coming through. I do. I'm comfortable with it. And it's just a new focus, a different direction. I don't know. It always seems to be in whatever direction it is, the one I'm heading. One step in front of the other. And I just trust the process, no matter what. And so, yeah, it's all about love. And I'm a happy camper. I am. Cats are happy. I'm happy. I actually had an opportunity to, just this last week, have some really amazing phone conversations. One with a dear friend of mine that we go back to the early 90s. We co-parented our children and shared a house. And I was raising 3 boys, the oldest one being from a first marriage of my kid's mother, and 2 were mine. And he had exactly the same circumstance with the oldest one being from another father, and the 2 younger ones. And they're very similar in age, actually, all of them. And so we were just perfect duality. Him with girls, me with boys, but really kind of the same circumstance. And so we co-parented for years, and we owned a restaurant together. We've done a lot of things together, and he's just a remarkable man. And him and his new wife, they've been together years, but they got married finally. That's the last time I actually saw him and actually talked to him, which was last August. And I sent him out some messages and voicemail, and wasn't hearing back from him. And so it was Monday, and I was out on my morning walk, and he was just real fresh in my mind, and very much in my heart. And I was thinking, wait, today is President's Day, bank holiday, because he works in bank, but he's a marvelous musician. Him and his wife both, they're amazing, and they perform a lot. And so I thought, all right, I'm just going to call, see what happens. And sure enough, he answered. I didn't go to voicemail, and we ended up on the phone for a couple hours. It was really lovely, and I really appreciated that. And then I also heard from Sonny Boy, Daniel, and he's really enjoying himself. He's been up in upstate New York and hanging with our other friend Jeffrey, and he really likes it where he is. So he's just chilling. He's just going to stay there. And good for you, man. You know, we're all where we're supposed to be, being whoever we're being, wherever that is, whatever reason that is. So. Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I have no problem being alone. None. Because I don't feel like I'm ever alone. I don't get lonely. That's why I went on my walk yesterday. Me, myself, and I, 14 miles in nature. Now, when I walk down this road, this 7 Bridge Road, not one vehicle. And this road, it had to be a good, I don't know, my guess would be it was at least 6 miles or 7 miles of my walk was just on that road. Not one vehicle. Not one. That was pretty cool. And I like that. I like being in nature. I really do. I like the solitude. I like the quiet. Now, right now, I'm running the generator, but I don't run it all the time. I run it to keep the Wi-Fi active when I need it. Power the computer, my phone. Yeah, although I can power my phone in my vehicle as well, and I do that sometimes, so I don't have to turn on the generator. And this morning I was hearing these beautiful birds. They're just hanging outside and just singing, dancing. It's really beautiful. And so, yeah, I celebrate. I celebrate life. Life's good. So, I don't really have much more to say. I just want to wish you all a beautiful, wonderful, marvelous day. I don't know if anybody's there with any questions or anything, since I do post this as a Q&A. But it's all good. Life's good. I feel really at peace. I had a lot of love in my heart. So, thanks for being you. Nobody does a better job of being you than you. Ever. So celebrate that shit. Enjoy your ride. And always keep your peace together. And love yourself. You deserve it. So, with all that being said, have a happy Saturday, wherever you are. Bye now.